Are you wondering how you can build more emotional intimacy in your relationship? My name is Leah Huynh. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and today I'm going to talk about how to build more emotional intimacy in your relationship or in your marriage. Now, it's easy to build emotional intimacy when you're dating someone. Everything is new, you're really curious about the other person, and you feel like you want to know everything. There's so many questions to ask. But what I see is once people have dated for a while or they get married, it kind of feels like what else is there to know about the person? And people end up not being as curious. There's not as much to say. Now, it doesn't have to be that way. A lot of my clients that come in say, hey, we really know that it's possible to have emotional intimacy in our marriage, even though we've been married for 10, 20 years or 5 years or 2 years. How do I get there? So here are some tips that I give to my clients. Number 1, start with how you leave and how you greet each other when you come home, because those things really set the tone for your relationship. Did you know that men that kiss their wives before they leave for work end up living 5 years longer than those that don't kiss their wives before they leave? It also shows in the study that they end up making more money. And obviously the effects on the marriage are great as well. But I would say before you leave, make sure you say goodbye. Make sure you give your wife or your husband a kiss or some kind of affection. And then when you come home, make sure that's something that you do as well, because that will set the tone for the rest of your evening. It's gonna say, hey, I'm home, I'm glad we're together, and it should bring about some positive effects as you continue to interact together in the home. The second piece of advice I want to give is be interested in your partner's day, big or small, and share the things in your day, big or small. We might think, oh, same old, there's nothing really big that's happened. Maybe I'll share if I get a promotion, or maybe I'll share if, I don't know, my son starts walking. Those are definitely moments that you want to share about, but you also want to share about those little things, because those little things are what make up the whole of a person, those day-to-day things. And those things are things that allow you to really know a person, right? To know who your partner's coworkers are, which ones annoy them, which ones they really get along with, right? Or what things you struggle with your son or daughter. What things does your spouse really enjoy about parenting? What things do they enjoy about their work, not enjoy about their work? What sort of things are their pet peeve? Driving to work, getting to work. Those are the things that you want to be able to share, and things that you want to be able to know about each other. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but maybe it was the highlight of your day that somebody complimented you at work about something that you did. Or maybe it was the low light of your day when you had to drive home and there was a bunch of traffic, there was an accident, and you just felt so frustrated. Those are things that allow you to get to know each other that are important to share. And if you feel like, oh, this is so boring, maybe start with what is a highlight of your day and what is the low light of your day. And then you can take turns and you can practice asking questions, right? So if someone says, oh, the highlight of my day was that somebody complimented me at work, they gave me credit for something that I've been working really hard on, then your response can be, or your follow-up could be, oh, great. Like, what was it that they said? Who was the person? What is it that you did that they really affirmed you for? You know, there are ways that you can build upon these small instances that allow you to open up and really get to know a person, and really allows you to be known as well, and can build deeper intimacy in your relationship. The next thing I think is pretty obvious, but maybe most of us just need to hear this, is be present. So when your partner is talking to you, make sure you put your phone down. I remember yesterday my husband was asking me a question, and I was watching a very interesting YouTube video. And I said to myself, okay, I'm going to pause my video and put my phone down. And that was something that I needed to make an extra effort to do. We always try to make an extra effort to do. But it is hard, I will say, because when you're in the middle of something, sometimes that feels more important than your partner. But doing something small like that, putting your phone down, turning your chair so you're facing the person, that you're actively listening, really builds in that emotional intimacy, because what it shows to him is you're important. So one thing you can also do too is if, for example, if my husband is reading something or if he's watching a basketball game that I know he's really into, I'll just say, hey, do you have a minute? I just need to talk to you about something real quick. And usually he'll stop it. If it's something that isn't that important and he knows, he can tell by the tone of my voice it's not that important, he'll say, oh, okay, just can you hold on for like 5 minutes until the quarter ends? And it's no problem, right? So I think if you can, pause whatever you're doing and talk to the other person. If you can't, then just communicate, oh yeah, just give me a minute to finish this, right? Or if you're the one asking the question or needing your partner's attention, be considerate and say, hey, are you busy right now? Are you working? Can I talk to you real quick? If not, I can come back in 5 minutes, something like that. But the important thing is to really be able that the two of you are giving each other your full attention while you're talking and being present with them, right? So if say you're taking a walk together, don't be on your phone while you're walking the dog, right? Make sure your phone is away and you're really just focusing on each other. The next thing is share activities together. I know that once you get married and you have kids and you're working, there's just so much to do. It feels like having time together is the last thing on your minds, the last priority. But I would say you have to make time to spend quality time together. You have to make that a priority. Now, I know there's not a lot of time, but you have to be intentional. Otherwise, it will go by the wayside and you'll end up just falling back to default, which is what, being on your phone, playing video games, just things that are not going to deepen that emotional intimacy in your relationship. And I know a lot of us are super busy. So if you can't get out for a date night every week, find something that you can do together. I remember when my husband and I, when our kids were really small, we had a window of time from like 8 to 8:35 where we had childcare and we didn't have to go to work yet. We would take that time and we would go to the coffee shop and we would eat oatmeal together. Now our kids are older, we don't have to do that, but you find creative ways to get that time together. Maybe it's multitasking, taking the dogs out on a walk together. You get exercise, you get time together, you're walking your dog. It could be other things that you can do together. I know one client that I have, they like watching Netflix together, but it's with a twist. They pause it and then they'll talk about it. So it's a way to really bond over the show. They're not just like zoning out, watching it, and then it's done and then they go to bed. They're using that time to really build some bonding together over these shows. The next thing I would say is get to know each other on a deeper level. And again, you might feel like you know everything about your partner, but you'll be surprised if you're curious. There are things about your partner that you don't know. I'll give an example. Sometimes there are things that'll pop up in my mind about my husband that I'm really curious about. I mean, I'm just naturally a curious person, but being a therapist, you're trained to kind of ask questions. It's a good thing that it's kind of trained me also to do the same in my relationship. So just the other day, I was asking my husband, because his dad had a business and then the business had to close down. And I asked him, what was that like? How was that in your family? What was it like financially? Was it a transition for you? And we had a pretty long conversation about what that was like for him. And I got to know him on a deeper level. Now, we'd been married for, I think, 18, 19 years already. And this was something that I had not really asked him, but it was really interesting and it really deepened our relationship for me to ask him about that. The other thing I asked him about was, this was about a month or two ago. I remember asking him, what was it like growing up in a school where you were the only Asian person? And then in 5th grade, you transitioned to a school where everyone was Chinese. And, the academic pressure of being in this new school, it must have been a really difficult transition. And we, again, opened up another conversation about his life that I had not really known on a deeper level, and it helped me to really get to know him better. So these are questions that you can ask with your spouse, with your partner, things that maybe you're curious about that pop up in your mind. Ask them. It doesn't have to be about their childhood. Maybe it could be about the present, right? Why is it that you always need to put hot sauce on your eggs when you eat them in the morning? What is it about that, right? Or, it could be something small, right? If you could do another job, what would it be? These kinds of questions can open up conversations that really deepen your relationship. And there are tons of resources on the internet. You can just type in questions to ask your partner for deeper emotional intimacy. You will find tons and tons of questions. The next one is be playful, have fun together, tell jokes. Don't just spend all your time being serious. Find times to intentionally make the energy lighter. That's going to build intimacy with your partner. Find ways to tell jokes. I know a lot of people, they like to share like memes or Instagram reels that they'll send to their partner. There are things, easy ways that you can find ways to connect to each other. I know my husband really likes Costco, so anytime I see something about Costco, I will send it to him. We'll laugh about it. Sometimes he'll send me things. We'll laugh about it. He really likes to joke around, so he still makes me laugh, and we will laugh together. Obviously, it's not a laugh fest 24/7. We've got chores to do, but once in a while, take time to just talk, to be playful here and there throughout the day. It just relaxes the mood. And we all need that, don't we? And what better person to do that than with your spouse or with your partner? The next tip is to be vulnerable and for the listener to be supportive, right? So I think a lot of times when people share, they will share facts like this thing happened and then that thing happened. And a lot of times what I'll do, especially when I'm in a session with a client, is I'll say, well, how did that make you feel? Right? And that's something you can do with your partner. When your partner is sharing facts with you, how did that make you feel can feel a little formal and a little bit, I don't know, like not genuine. If you don't want to say, how did that make you feel? You could say, wow, that sounds really frustrating, right? Or, oh my gosh, I would be so mad if that happened to me. And then let them build on top of that. You're kind of getting away from the facts to how did it make you feel? And that builds intimacy, right? So if somebody is sharing something and what happened and how that made them feel, I would say as the listener, try not to give advice unless the person is asking for it. But that's the number one complaint that I hear from a lot of wives is I'll share with my husband and then he'll just give me advice. And I know from the husband's perspective, they're just trying to be helpful because in their brain, they just want to solve the problem. They're problem solvers. But for women, they want emotional support. They want to feel like they're not alone, that someone is with them, that someone understands them. So if you can just take a step back as a listener and say, wow, that's really hard, or wow, I don't know what I would do in your shoes, or affirming them, wow, the way you handled that was really difficult, but you did a great job. And that can build a lot of intimacy because it builds trust. It's being vulnerable. Those are things, it's like you're opening yourself up to that person in a way that you would never open up to someone else. And you're receiving care, you're receiving support. That's going to deepen the emotional intimacy in your relationship. And the last thing I want to say is affirm your partner, compliment them, find things that they do that you really appreciate. I think a lot of times with my clients, they do notice because when I ask them in session, oh, what do you appreciate about your spouse or your partner? They have things that they can say off the top of their head, but they don't think to say it in the moment, or they don't think to say it to their partner. And I don't know, if you're from an Asian background, a lot of times it's hard because we're not used to that. We grow up with the mentality that, if you compliment somebody, you're gonna make them have a big head. And I don't believe in that. I think the more you affirm somebody, we get enough criticism in the day. We already have enough criticism. We put ourselves down enough in our minds. I think that encouragement can really lift a person's mood and build the intimacy. So if you find something, you notice something about your partner that you really appreciate, try saying it to them. You don't have to be mushy about it, like, oh, you're the greatest, you're the best. That might feel a little bit corny, but you can say, hey, like, I just happened to hear you talking in that meeting that you had online. And yeah, it sounded like people were really open to your ideas, and that's great. Or, or it doesn't even have to be a compliment. It could be a thank you. Hey, thanks for doing the dishes today. That really takes a load off of my back. Things like that can build extra intimacy. Now, we're all thinking it and we're all feeling it, but it happens so quickly. Sometimes we don't think to say it out loud. So I always tell my clients, make it a habit to give at least 1 or 2 compliments per day. Sometimes that's really hard, but if you can try to make that your goal, I guarantee you it's gonna build something positive in your relationship. So let me know what you do to build emotional intimacy in your relationship, or if you're having a struggle, let me know in the comments below. If you want to work with me, my website is down below. Otherwise, take care. Bye.